And Sheikh, you can start when you're ready, Sheikh.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير خلق الله أجمعين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome once again to another UCT MSA weekly talk on perfecting Salah. And inshallah this evening we'll have the topic miscellaneous issues in Salah. It will be a very short session. This is based on certain issues that was not covered in the previous talks. So inshallah it will be very beneficial to know these things inshallah. So without further ado, let's go into it. So the first thing, the question is, when does the Imam Salah becomes invalid while the Salah or the followers are still valid? There's a very good question answer to know to this question. It's very important. The Imam Salah can become invalid without invalidating the follower's Salah in the following instance. If the Imam finds out after Salah that he was in a state of major or minor spiritual impurity or had non-visible najis on his clothes or body while in Salah, the Imam will be the Imam's Salah will be invalid and he would have to repeat his Salah. The follower's Salah will remain valid. Okay, so this happens a lot, whereby you find an Imam and the Imam performs Salah. The Imam performs Salah. After the Salah, he realizes, but I did not have wudu, or there's najis on my clothing, visible najis on my clothing, or non-visible najis on his clothing, whatever it might be. So what happens in that instance? Usually we think that because the Imam's Salah was invalid, that the follower's Salah will be invalid. No. So if the Imam realizes after the Salah that he did not have wudu, either he broke his wudu before he made the Salah, and only realized after Salah that he did not have wudu when starting the Salah, or he was in state of major impurity, then he has to repeat his Salah. But the follower or the followers, their Salah will still be valid. Okay. However, if the najis was visible or the follower knew that the Imam was in a state of major or minor spiritual impurity before the Imam started with the Salah, then the follower's Salah will be invalid and also has to repeat it. This is, for example, the follower saw the Imam going to the toilet, and then he saw the Imam going to the toilet, and in the toilet there's no place to make wudu, and he saw the Imam flushing the toilet part and all those things, and the Imam went to the toilet and broke his wudu in the toilet. He came out and he saw the Imam again standing in front as the Imam. Now the follower knows the Imam does not have wudu, and now the follower is following the Imam. In that instance, the Imam realizes that he does not have wudu. He has to repeat his Salah. The follower, because he knew the Imam did not have wudu and he still followed the Imam, he as well has to repeat his Salah. So it's very important to know that. You have to know that the Imam has wudu. In default, the default position is that the Imam has wudu. But if you have knowledge that the Imam does not have wudu, it's for you to tell the Imam that you do not have wudu, and the Imam will then perform wudu and then perform the Salah and lead the Salah. This is from the Hadith. The Messenger of Allah, may peace and blessings be upon him, said, if a person who is in a state of sexual impurity performs Salah as an Imam for a people, he repeats his Salah and the people's Salah is complete. Meaning that the people, their Salah is complete. They have completed the Salah is valid, but the Imam's Salah, because he was in a state of spiritual impurity, he found afterwards out that he was in a state of spiritual impurity, he has to repeat his Salah. But in this instance, the followers did not know that the Imam was in that state. But if the followers know, they should not follow the Imam, because if they follow the Imam, the Salah will be null and void. It's very important to note this, that the Imam, his salah will be null and void. So sometimes you always see that at, in mosque or places like that, whereby you find out later on that the Imam did not have wudu. So you should know in that instance, if the Imam did not have wudu while performing salah, the follow salah will be valid. At least the follower knew that the Imam did not have wudu or ablution. Okay, move on to the next issue. Can one break away from the Imam as a follower to perform salah individually? So in this instance, you are following the Imam. You are following the Imam, but you want to break from the Imam and perform your salah individually. So what is the ruling on that? It is permissible for a follower to break away from the Imam if he has an excuse. So we have excuse to break, and we'll do the excuses later on. However, if there is no excuse, it would be considered makruh, disliked, to break away from the Imam. So in this instance, you see that it's not sinful to break from the Imam. You're not breaking your salah. When you speak about breaking away from the Imam, we are saying that you are breaking away from the Imam, meaning that you're performing salah on your own. You're not breaking the salah. You're not, breaking the salah by, stopping your salah and doing something else. No, you are just making the intention that you're going to perform your salah on your own individually. So you are performing salah with the Imam maybe for the first rak'ah or the second rak'ah. Now you make the intention, you no longer want to follow the Imam, you want to complete the salah that you're busy with by yourself. That is what's meant here, to break away from the salah. Meaning breaking away from the Imam. If you break away from the salah, meaning you're breaking your salah, that you're stopping your salah, you're ending your salah in the middle of the salah, that is, if it's a fardhu salah, that's sinful. You'll be sinning by doing that. So just remember that what we're speaking here about is that you are breaking away from the Imam, meaning you are completing the salah on your own. You're on your own. You're not, stopping the salah and ending the salah. No, you are just continuing the salah that you performed with the Imam on your own. From amongst the excuses for breaking away from the Imam are the following. If the Imam is prolonging the salah, so if the Imam is reciting long verses and surahs of the Quran, and it's just too much for you, you can break away from the Imam and continue the salah on your own. And meaning that you make intention that you are done performing salah, you stop performing salah with the Imam, and you're continuing your salah and completing your salah by yourself. Or the Imam left out a recommended action that the follower would want to do. So let's say the Imam, left out the first tashahhud, and we've done this before. The first tashahhud is considered to be, sunnah, a recommended action, and we've done that. Or the qunut is considered to be a recommended action. So he spoke about those things, the favorable recommended action, the tashahhud and the qunut. So let's say you, as a follower of the Imam, want to perform that, but the Imam did not do that. So if you see that the Imam is not sitting down for the first tashahhud, you break away from the Imam and you do your own tashahhud. You complete your tashahhud. Or if the Imam does not, perform the qunut and you want to perform your qunut, you can break away from the Imam. It should be noted as well that, to make salah with the Imam is more reward. It's more rewarding. We know this. Salah in Jama'ah is 27 times more and greater. So it depends. It's a trade-off here. You can either do that and you're losing out the greatness of the reward of Jama'ah. So it's always best to follow the Imam. But if you want to, for certain reasons, you can't stand very long with the Imam, your legs are getting weak and it's a bit too long. Let's say you are in, for example, you perform tahajjud with the Imam, and it's known that if you perform tahajjud, especially in Ramadan, they recite about a juz in one rak'ah, and that's a bit too much for you. Then you can, just break off from the Imam and perform that rak'ah very quickly, or the two rak'ahs very quickly, and then you can, move on if you have to move somewhere or go somewhere. Or the Imam left out a recommended action that the follower would want to do, or if he hears he might do something that will invalidate your salah, like breaking a wind, or if he might lose his wealth. So let's say he has, has a need to go to the toilet. So the Imam is performing salah, and he is prolonging his salah, is lengthening his salah, and he has to go to the toilet. He can't keep it in. He can perform his salah on his own very quickly and then go to the toilet. So you can do that. He can break away from the Imam and do that. Or if he fears he might lose his wealth, he hears, of someone going maybe to his house to break there in by his house, and he can perform his salah very quickly, then break away from the Imam and perform the salah very quickly, and then he can see to that. Or he's in salah and he hears, that the alarm of his car is on, and he fears that maybe he's in a very dangerous area, that somebody might now break into his car, and his alarm doesn't usually go off, and the first time it's going off now, and he knows something happening there. He can then break off from the Imam and see to his wealth, his car, to see if anyone has damaged it in any way. So again, there are excuses for a person to break from the Imam. So it's very important to note that there are excuses. Like we said, it's best to follow the Imam, but if you do break away from the Imam, it is allowed. If you have an excuse, it's allowed. If you do not have an excuse, it is makruh, meaning it's best for you not to do it if you don't have an excuse. But even though you do not have an excuse, you still can break from the Imam. Like we mentioned, it's makruh. It's disliked for you to do that. Okay. It was narrated that Jabir said, Mu'adh bin Jabal al-Ansari led his companions in the Isha Salah, and he made it long. So he lengthened the Isha Salah. He recited a long, chapter of the Quran. So it was a long, lengthy, recitation in the Salah. A man amongst us went away and prayed by himself. Mu'adh was still about that, and he said, he is a hypocrite. When the man heard about that, he went to the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, and told him what Mu'adh had said to him. The Messenger, may peace and blessings be upon him, said, do you want to be a cause of fitna trial, O Mu'adh? When you lead the people in prayer, recite by the sun and its brightness. وَالشَّمْسِ وَضُحَاهَا, meaning recite a short surah like the length of وَالشَّمْسِ وَضُحَاهَا, and glorify the name of your Lord the Most High. سَبِّحِ اسْمَ رَبِّكَ الْأَعْلَى, short surah. And by the night as it envelopes, وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى, and recite in the name of your Lord. اقرأ بِاسْمِ رَبِّكَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ. So again, from this we learn that it's important to note that if you are leading in salah, and it is a farz salah, it's obligatory salah, it's one of the 5 salahs, it's it is recommended for you to shorten it, because there might be people standing behind you who are old. There might be mothers that have the children with them, and the child might be restless in the arms while they're performing salah. So it's recommended for a person to shorten their salah, like the Prophet ﷺ has mentioned of these surahs to be recited. The Messenger of Allah, may peace and blessings be upon him, did not rebuke the man did not rebuke the man for leaving, or ordered him to repeat the salah. So we see in this hadith that because the Prophet ﷺ did not rebuke the man for leaving, he had a reason because it was too long, or ordered him to repeat the salah. We learn that we are allowed to pray by oneself, to break away from the salah. Like I mentioned again, it is best for you to be in jama'ah, but if you have to for certain reasons, you are allowed to do so. If a person's in jama'ah and maybe that you have to be somewhere, for example, the flight is leaving soon in the airport and you perform salah in one of the musallas in the airport, and maybe flight is leaving soon and the Imam is just dragging and going on and lengthening his salah, you're allowed to then quickly shorten your perform salah on your own, and then you can go to your flight, not for your tune, but your flight. So there are benefits for breaking your salah away from the Imam. and performing by yourself individually. Okay, now we move on to another issue, istikhlaf. This is the appointment of the Imam while in Salah. To appoint a follower to complete the Salah in place of the Imam for an excuse that the Imam has. So the Imam will be appointing someone of his followers to be the Imam in place of him. This is known as istikhlaf. Okay. The follower will therefore be the second Imam, and the former Imam will no longer be the Imam, as he will then be a follower of the second Imam. So the Imam will no longer be the Imam. The Imam that started the Jama'ah will no longer be the Imam because he appointed somebody else to take the place of him. This is very important, as you'll see the reasons why this happens, inshallah. But before that, we're going to speak about the method, how it's done. So the method of appointment is as follows. The Imam will take hold of the garment of the follower and pull him to the mihrab. The mihrab is the place where he's performing salah. The Imam performs salah in the mihrab. The former Imam will then move to the back. He would then gesture with his fingers to the appointed Imam the amount of rak'at left. If he feels there is a need, such in the case the appointed Imam has joined the salah late. Okay, so if he knows that the person that he's appointing has joined the salah late, the appointed Imam will not know how many rak'ats that he should still perform. So the Imam, if he feels he has to do it, he can gesture with his fingers. Either 2 rak'ats, so he showed 2, meaning he still has to perform 2 rak'ats, or 3, so he has to perform 3 rak'ats, and so forth. So he can't speak to the individual, he just gestures with his fingers the amount of rak'ats that should now be completed. The appointed Imam will then continue from where the former Imam left off. So let's say the Imam recites, this is the first Imam, says, وَلَضَّالِّينَ Ameen. So the former Imam, he completed Surah Al-Fatiha. Now the Imam that will come on, the second Imam, he will now continue that Salah with the next Surah, or the Surah, because if this was Maghrib Salah, we recite loud. You first have the Fatiha, then you have the Surah. Then the Imam will say Bismillah, the second Imam will say, the appointed Imam will say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Qul huwa Allahu Ahad. So you will start with the Surah. So he just continues from where the Imam has left off. Okay. It should be noted that the appointed Imam should have been a follower before being appointed. Very important. So the appointed Imam had to be a follower of the Imam before being appointed. So a person that was not part of the Jama'ah, the congregation, can't just stand as Imam now. No, you can't just take someone that did not perform the Salah. The appointed Imam, should be of those who are following the Imam. It does not matter when he followed the Imam, he just had to be following the Imam before he got appointed. So when he got appointed, he was following the Imam, and then he can be of those that the Imam can appoint. Also, very important, he should be qualified to be an Imam. So if he's not qualified to be Imam, maybe he's a small person, or he's someone who can't recite Fatiha properly. So the Imam should know who are those who are qualified to be the Imam. As well as very important for the individual who stands behind the Imam, should be an individual who understands fiqh, understands, how to recite properly the Surah Al-Fatiha, who knows these things, who has knowledge about the Salah. Because the Imam will generally take the person that's behind him, and we would assume that the person standing behind the Imam has knowledge of what to do in this instance. So if you do not know this, and someone just takes you and pull you to the front, you think, what's wrong with this Imam? Is the Imam mad? So it's very important to have knowledge, and that is the position for the person that stands behind the Imam. It's a great responsibility to stand behind the Imam. If you do not know the fiqh of Salah, you shouldn't stand behind the Imam. Maybe behind next to the person who stands behind the imam, who knows, but not just behind the imam, because that is reserved, that space is reserved for someone who will be the appointed imam if need be, if he has to now go in front to recite, or to complete the salah as the appointed imam. So we will look into the excuses for an imam to be appointed. So what are the excuses? So the excuses for an imam appointing another imam while in salah. The first, fearing one's wealth might be destroyed or stolen. So the imam fears that his wealth might be destroyed somehow or stolen, or he fears for his life or the life of another person. So it's all to do with either his wealth or the life of someone. So example would be, if an imam fears his wealth will be destroyed or stolen, or that a child might fall in a hole or walk into or touch fire. So let's say the imam is performing salah. And he's maybe performing somewhere, he's on holiday and he has a fire maybe in front of him, and his family is making salah behind him, and he has a small child. The child is now walking to the fire. The imam seeing this. So what does the imam do? He pulls someone behind him in front to be the imam, and he goes and he stops the child from walking into the fire, or walking into a hole or anything, or into whatever it might be, or any harm. So thereby causing great harm. So if the imam does not do that, and it will cause a great harm by not doing that, then the imam is obliged. It is obligatory for the imam to break off his salah and to appoint someone else. This is to safeguard his wealth and to save someone and anyone else from great harm or death. So you're allowed to break your salah in this instance. You're breaking off your salah by appointing someone else. You're appointing someone else to be the imam, because your wealth, you can always perform your salah again. But if you lose your wealth, it's a bit of a problem. You are allowing, you have to safeguard your wealth, because your wealth is there for you to look after your family, to look after yourself. You need wealth. So the Sharia allows you to allow someone else to stand in place of you in case your wealth would be lost or be destroyed, or in the instance of someone being harmed. A child might be walking into the fire, or a small child walking down a staircase and might fall and hurt himself. You're allowed now to break off your salah by allowing someone else to stand in your place, and you can go to put that child in safety, or to help whoever persons who need of your help. So this is the first instance when we speak about whereby it is obligatory for the imam to break off, and this is when it comes to fearing for his wealth, or his health, as well as the life of someone. Okay. Number 2, something occurring that would make the imam incapable of being the imam. Examples would be, if an imam is unable to perform the pillars of the salah correctly, like standing or bowing or reciting Fatiha due to severe pain or illness. So now the imam is performing salah. He's performing salah as the imam. But what happens here is his leg pulls stiff and he can't go down maybe. Or he can't stand, or he can't bow down, or his back is giving in. So all of these things are a bit difficult for him now to be the imam, because he has to go down and go into sujood and all these things, and he can't do that. He's instead of difficulty, and he's in pain. So what, in that situation, what does he do? Or his nose started to bleed, or a small amount of najis, a small amount of najis, or a small amount, or najis fell on him and fears dirtying the mosque. Okay. It is then recommended for the imam to appoint a follower as an imam. Yes, he can continue salah if he's standing and is in pain. He can do that, but it's recommended for him to rather appoint someone else, because his khushu, his humility, and his concentration will not be there. And if you can't recite Surah Al-Fatiha properly, maybe something happened to his tongue, or maybe his throat he can't speak anymore, is something wrong with his throat, his pain, or he got an inflammation somehow, his tongue while he's performing salah and is swollen, whatever it might be, and he can't, then it's recommended now for him now to get someone else to stand in front. It's recommended. He doesn't need to do that. He can still continue his salah, but it's recommended for him to do so. Okay. And the third excuse, which is the last excuse here, something occurring with the Imam that would invalidate his salah. Examples would be, if the Imam breaks his ablution because of urine, wind, etc., while he is performing salah, or he realizes while in salah that he was in a state of minor or major spiritual impurity before salah, or he becomes insane, unconscious, or dies somehow, or he has an excessive nosebleed, his salah would then be invalid and would need to appoint a follower as the Imam. So this is the instance whereby the Imam, while performing salah, he breaks his wudu. So he's the Imam, and while he's performing salah, he breaks his wudu. Or while he's performing salah, something happens and he starts, to wet himself. Or while he's performing salah, he realized that he did not have wudu while performing salah. Or he realized that he was in a state of spiritual impurity. He was in a state of spiritual impurity. He performed wudu, but because he was in a state of major spiritual impurity, that wudu will not count, because you have to be free from both minor and major spiritual impurity when you perform your salah. So he realizes all of those things while he's in salah. So what happens? He can't perform his salah because the conditions of salah is not met. He doesn't have wudu. He appoints someone else from behind to continue the salah. He appoints somebody from behind to continue the salah. Or he becomes insane. So the instance when he becomes insane or unconscious or dies, then someone else goes. So you get two ways of doing it. Either the Imam can hold the person behind and push him to the front, or the person behind the Imam can step to the front. So the instance when the person behind the Imam sees that the Imam became insane, something happened, this Imam is not normal now. So maybe shouting or something like that. He's doing something which is not normal for Imam to do. Then the person behind the Imam, he stands in front and continues the salah. Or the Imam falls unconscious. The Imam falls unconscious. What happens? The person behind the Imam will now go and stand in front. And somebody else maybe will go now to see what's wrong with the Imam. But the Jama'ah still continues. We don't stop the whole Jama'ah just because someone fell, unconscious. Those who are experts in the medical field will then go to the person and help the person. But the Jama'ah will still continue, because it's no use just watching and getting nothing else. Rather finish your salah and make dua in your salah for the person. Okay. Or the person dies. The person dies in salah, and so the Imam sees, the person behind the Imam sees that the Imam has collapsed. He will now stand in front, and others will then go and look what is wrong with the Imam. Or has an excessive nosebleed. So if a person has an excessive nosebleed, a lot of blood falls out, that breaks your wudu automatically, and that blood may be najis and you can't perform your salah. Of course, that invalidates your salah. Therefore, someone else will now, you will take someone and bring him to the front to perform the salah, to complete the Jama'ah salah. Your salah would then be invalid and would need to appoint a follower as the Imam. The hadith. Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, performed salah as the Imam with the people. The Messenger of Allah, may peace and blessings be upon him, came and sat on his side. Abu Bakr and the people then followed him, meaning the Prophet ﷺ. So this was the instance whereby the Prophet Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was performing his salah. Then afterwards, the Prophet came, and Abu Bakr then followed the Prophet. He followed the Prophet. So it's as if that Abu Bakr appointed now the Prophet as being the Imam. He appointed the Prophet as being the Imam, and the followers, who followed Abu Bakr now will follow the Imam. So Abu Bakr was no longer Imam, he was now a follower because he appointed the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam now of being the Imam. Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, appointed an Imam while he was stabbed. So when Umar radiallahu anhu was stabbed while he was performing salah, he was stabbed while he was performing salah, he then appointed someone to lead the salah. And with that, inshallah, we will end. As I mentioned, today is a very short session. I just use a session to speak about certain things that was not covered in the past, which I really thought it's very important that we know. A lot of these things are not mentioned. It's assumed that everyone knows these things. What happens if you're imam and a break wudu and these things? It's not something that is commonly taught. But I thought I should focus on these type of issues, that we know it, and if we do fall in that kind of situation, we'll know what to do. So for that, inshallah, I'll end there. If there are any questions, please feel free to ask, inshallah. If there's no questions, I'll then hand it over to Ilyas, inshallah, to do the closing. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We say Jazakallah khairan to Sheikh Khalid. Once again, even though it was a relatively short talk this week, nonetheless very insightful. And we are always appreciative of you, Sheikh, for always being willing to share with us your knowledge and your wisdom. And Allah always increase you and your family because of that, inshallah. I mean, a couple of announcements, perhaps just to say that if you saw the email that we sent a few weeks ago, that the Medina Institute is allocating some bursaries to UCT students. So that's a full bursary to either do the 1 year or the 3 year program. So if you are interested in applying for the program, you must just check that email and send your details to our secretary, who is Nasreen. And then the other thing is, obviously, there weren't any questions today for Sheikh, but I'm sure maybe that's just because it's fresh, and maybe sometimes it happens to me a lot that we often think of the questions before. I think there is actually a question now, Sheikh, if you would like to respond to that. But just to say that there are platforms for you to ask questions to Sheikh Khalid during the week when we're not having these sessions. If you go on the Vula tab, you'll see that there's a space called Ask Sheikh Khalid. So you can actually post any question, and Sheikh Khalid usually gives a very comprehensive response. Sheikh, I see there are 2 questions, so maybe if you would like to respond to them in the meanwhile, and then I'll just finish off.
Yes, inshallah. I will just look at the questions firstly. Okay. The first question is, I'm wondering where the word najis come from. It's an Arabic word which basically means impurities, najis, najasa. I have no idea if it's origin from any other place, but it's Arabic word which means impurities. So najis is a certain type of impurity. You get different types of najis. You get a light type, you get a medium type, and you get now a very severe type. Different ways of cleaning them. For example, if a dog licks on you, that is najis, the saliva of a dog. That's a severe type of najis, whereby you have to use a bit of sand as well to use it. If he licks onto a utensil, you have to use sand to clean it. Then you get a light type of najis. It's like a boy, or a baby boy, who urinates on you, which and he does not eat any staple food. He only drinks from the breast of his mother. That's a bit of a light type of najis, whereby you just sprinkle water on there, you damp it, and that is a way to clean that. And then you get your medium type of najis, which is najis you have to wash until clean water flows out. So this is different types of najis, but when you ask me where does it derive from, I do not know. It is from Arabic origin, najasa, which means to make impure. That's about it. Allah alam. I will perhaps look up the word to see if there's a different origin, inshallah. The second question: how would the person behind the imam know there is an incident happening for them to act? Um, Yes, like I mentioned, the way how it's done is that the imam will now grab or take hold of the person behind the imam or one of the followers behind the imam and pull him to the front. So it's very important for the individual or the individuals who are standing behind the imam to have knowledge on these types of issues, to know that if the imam take hold of them and pull them to the front, that they have to complete the salah. That's the way of knowing, because the imam has to appoint. So the imam is appointing, or the person behind the imam looks at the imam, the follower looks at the imam, and he sees that the imam has collapsed. So he will now take the initiative and he will now lead the salah and complete the salah with the followers. Okay, hope that answers the question. Salam, when you break away from the imam, must you physically move away? No, you don't physically move away. You make the intention to to break away from the imam, meaning intention to perform a salah by yourself. You're allowed to move away in salah a few steps. Yes, that's no problem. We've done this before. The movements you're allowed in salah. So if you move one step back, there's no problem in doing so. And you can then complete your salah away from the jama'ah if you would like to do that by moving one step. But you can't move the amount of steps that will break your salah. Because you're still in salah, you just change your intention that you will now complete that salah by yourself. You do not break your salah into parts, in the first part and second part. You are completing the salah that you performed with the imam. You perform the salah with the imam to a certain point, and from there you are completing the salah on your own individually. Okay, I think that's all the questions that's here on my screen. So with that, inshallah, if there's no other questions, I'll then end off, inshallah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those who are of those that are close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by performing the salah. Our salah should be a means for us to become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to draw closer to Him. Why? Because while we are in salah, we are speaking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have a direct communication with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those who are close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that we may derive the love and pleasure from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So with that, wa akhu